Welcome to Modern Anarchy, the podcast exploring sex, relationships, and liberation. I'm your host, Dr. Nicole.
I tried to keep her quiet, but she's screaming inside of me. I tried to keep her hiding, oh, shut up. I tried to keep her quiet, but she's a wild, wild woman.
On today's episode, we have Ally. Join us for a conversation about following your curiosity all the way home to your pleasure. Together we talk about the politics of a full belly laugh, sexual habituation in long-term relationships, and making up for the years of women's lost orgasms. Hello, dear listener, and welcome back to Modern Anarchy. I am so delighted to have all of you pleasure activists from around the world tuning in for another episode each Wednesday. I'm Dr. Nicole. I'm a sex and relationship psychotherapist providing psychedelic-assisted psychotherapy, author of the Psychedelic Jealousy Guide, and founder of The Pleasure Practice, supporting individuals in crafting expansive sex lives and intimate relationships. Dear listener, oh, what a special episode to be sharing with you. Ally and I just hit it off. You know, there's some episodes where you really get to that space, and this is one of them. And you can hear it in our full belly laughter that we have because it's connected to your ability to feel pleasure, right? When we orgasm, there is so much breath in that experience, dear listener. And so when you're laughing, right, it's similar. It's connected to that ability to be in your body, to really breathe and fully feel. And this happens in community. And so it's such a joy to be connected with other leaders in this space like Ally, to have you here for these conversations that are rippling through your ears, rippling through your body, and you're getting to hear all of this discussion around how to really step into your authentic pleasure. I mean, this is the magic of revolutions. We are absolutely making up for years of lost orgasms because it's a completely different time and there is so much more work to do. This work is more necessary than ever. And so, dear listener, I really hope that you're coming hard. I really hope that you're laughing hard. And I really hope that you have the capacity to cry hard with everything that is going on in the world right now. And please know that I will be here in this space with you, continuing to explore and go deeper into what it means to be a pleasure activist. And trust, please, dear listener, trust that following your curiosity will bring you all the way home to your pleasure. All right, dear listener, if you are ready to liberate your pleasure, you can explore my offerings and free resources at modernanarchypodcast.com, linked in the show notes below. And I want to say the biggest thank you to all my Patreon supporters. You are supporting the long-term sustainability of the podcast, keeping this content free and accessible to all people. So thank you. And with that, dear listener, please know that I'm sending you all my love, and let's tune in to today's episode. Dear listener, there's a space already waiting for you where you are invited to let go of every old script about sex and relationships and begin living a life rooted in your pleasure, empowerment, and deep alignment. I'm Dr. Nicole, and this is your invitation to the Pleasure Liberation Groups, a transformative, educational, and deeply immersive experience designed for visionary individuals like you. Together, we'll gather in community to explore desire, expand relational wisdom, and embody the lives we're here to lead. Each session is woven with practices, teachings, and the kind of connection that makes real transformation possible. And I'll be right there with you, guiding the process with an embodied curriculum that supports both personal and collective liberation. This is your invitation into the next chapter of your erotic evolution. Say yes to your pleasure and visit modernanarchypodcast.com/pleasure practice to apply. And I will ask you the first question that I ask every guest on the show, which is, how would you like to introduce yourself to the listeners?
Well, I'm Ally Isleman. I am the original AI, as I like to say.
Sure.
I find myself these days finding a lot of fulfillment in the position of being a coach for couples primarily who are looking to transition their relationship into some version of an open dynamic. And that has enabled me to create content on a bunch of different platforms, which is also something I love to do, create courses, things like that, and just really aligning my something that was very personal for me for a long time with my business life as well, which I found very fulfilling.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited to have you here on Modern Anarchy and get to hold space for your story today.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. So where does the journey of expansive relating begin for you? Where do you first hear this word? What are your first reactions? Mine were not good, so I'm curious, we can get into that, but yeah.
My journey began long before I heard any of the words. I'll tell you that much. The words came later. I wish I had had the words.
Sure.
I now have a word like compersion that I can integrate into telling my, origin story, if you will. But I experienced compersion and I thought it was jealousy because it would show up during those periods where I was told I should be experiencing jealousy. So this must be what jealousy is.
Sure.
But it feels really good. So I don't understand why I didn't really get like the bad rap. And then, I was what I call a serial monogamist for the first 30 years of my life.
Right.
And I was only dating men at the time. I was closeted in every way.
Sure.
And I would be in the relationship for about the same amount of time. It would end. I'd be single for about the same amount of time. And then I'd get to the next one, boom, and the pattern repeats. So I'm a nerd. When I see a pattern, I'm like, ooh, what can I do here? Let me change some variables. And so I was like, let me be single for at least longer than, I've been before. Let's see what's on the other side of that.
Right.
And the answer is all of the shit. So that began my personal journey, my personal development journey, personal growth, all of that. Still got into a few more monogamous relationships, but was at least starting to get in touch with what my curiosities were, at least sexually.
Yeah.
And so bringing into the conversation could we play with like a woman? And so it generally would settle on, we can have a threesome with another woman. Didn't manifest until what became ultimately my last monogamous relationship, where we really had the conversation about what would it be like to explore connections with other people. This person is on the road a lot as a professional. I would join him when I could, but wasn't always able to. And it actually came from me like encouraging him connecting. Like, I want you to feel able to, because I enjoyed that. I knew I loved hearing about previous partners' experiences and other things like that. So I wanted to sort of yes and that.
Sure.
I didn't have words like polyamory, consensual any of that stuff.
Right.
I was just like, this feels good. Let's explore this. Unfortunately, that person didn't have the same experience around that as me. And again, we didn't have any of the tools, any of the frameworks, anything for what, transpired. And it ended up blowing up in our face.
Classic first attempt.
Exactly. Classic. The implosion. It did affirm that it was real for me, though. And I think I was very lucky in a lot of ways. I didn't want to, it helped me understand that this is real for me. But I didn't want, what I call any more emotional casualties on my conscience. So I was like, if I'm going to explore this, I need to explore this on my own for a good amount of time to really understand what this even means. Like, what does this say about me? Who am I in that? Like, what is this?
Right.
And so I did that journey for quite a few years on my own. And then, started exploring different relationship dynamics, different, spaces within the sex positive world, things like that. And it's been, almost a decade now at this point.
Yeah, what a psychological journey. Woo!
Yeah,
we're gonna
continue.
Oh yeah, exactly. Anyone who says they're done, I'm like, sit down.
Figured it out.
Sit down. The universe will sit you down at some point with that kind of confidence. You know what I mean?
I know.
Yeah, it was so fascinating when I recorded with Dr. Jolie Hamilton, who did a lot of research on jealousy and non-monogamy, to have the conversations about jealousy being erotic, right? There's so much spice to that. Yeah. I mean, there's that space of fear, and I think when you can kind of move past that, you start to feel that level of individuation, and you see your partner as separate from you and having their own life and own experiences, and that being so incredibly erotic, and often not a space that I think gets a lot of airtime.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a very uncomfortable space, especially when you're first exploring it. There's also so much social support for this is wrong, avoid this at all costs. Da, 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 da. Also, somehow simultaneously, it means you really care, but whatever. We'll avoid that oxymoron for now. But I think there's a connection to like root childhood, like that experience when you realize your parents are just people, they're separate from you, your primary caregiver. Like that's a foundational seismic shift for a human being. And there's connective tissue between that and that realization of, oh, right, my partner is another person. They have other experiences. It is not taking from me for them to be that way. And it's very, I think it's connected to some really primal stuff that we get very, comfortable avoiding as adults. But that's where the growth is. That's where the expansion in all areas of life is, I found.
Absolutely. It's all of the years of classical conditioning, right? If A, then B. If you love me, it's monogamous, right? If you're extremely jealous and possessive, that means you really love someone. And it's like, wait, hold on a second. Where did all this come from? Yeah, exactly. And if we can, really slow down to understand that there are other cultures around the world currently, as well as other cultures historically, that didn't have these same beliefs. And so they didn't have the same levels of classical conditioning that we did. So it's not like this is inherently an innate sense of, I think I get frustrated when people say like, no, monogamy is innate, monogamy is this. It's like
natural. What's natural? Yeah, that conversation.
It's a cultural practice, right? And I support different cultural practices, but we need to talk about it as a cultural practice, not an innate biological thing. And so I think that my hope would be that conversations like this can create more space, because I think our freedom is found when we're able to choose which relationship style fits us, right? And right now, the alternative, something like non-monogamy, expansive relating, every single person will be like, it doesn't work, I could never, blah, blah. I don't really know if that's freedom. I think it's very different to look at both and say, you know what, this is actually what I choose. I could see a life down that. I could see a life down this, and I choose this path. It's very different to say, no, that never works, right? And all of that, that doesn't feel like freedom and informed choice to me in our current structures.
Yeah. Well, you can't say yes or no to something that you don't even understand. And so many people are in relationship structures that they think they chose, but if they don't really even understand the relationship they're in, what that means, they're actually saying yes to a lot of what I call compound meanings. A big one is, love, sex, and commitment as synonyms. They're not. They're ingredients in a relationship. Monogamy equals commitment. Monogamy equals love. Like you said, all of that. What they're saying yes to is, I want companionship. I want something consistent and ongoing. All of these things are available in multiple relationship dynamics, but the assumption is they only live in monogamy. So when we understand what's actually underneath the like large labels and we start parsing through all that, what are the ingredients I want? What are my actual needs here? What structures support that? I now can choose those. That's super empowering.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And an important part about this is women's desire and eroticism. Oh my God. The amount of cultural narratives on what women quote unquote want is absurd. And so I'd love to dive a little bit deeper into your story of eroticism and what pulled you towards this, because there's just honestly not enough spaces where we can be like, hey, as a woman, I wanted to have sex with multiple people. And that's actually what compelled me to do this. Like we even like in this space, I hear people talk about love and multiple relationships, and changing the storyline for women is so needed. So I'd love to hear about your eroticism, what pulled you into this.
Absolutely. I think something that was profoundly shifting in my life was understanding what I call sensual empowerment, like my grounded experience of my sensuality. And that's connected to my sexuality. It's not implicitly just that, but it's a huge foundation of that. And that has harnessing that, understanding where that, how that shows up for me, how I'm connected to that has impacted how I show up in every area of my life, the way, from the bedroom to the boardroom, like literally. So for me, movement is a huge part of it. When I started exploring different types of dance and quite frankly, fitness even, I think a lot of that exploration really culminated and came together when I started exploring pole dance as fitness initially.
Yeah.
But I went to a studio that really prioritized the lived experience of that. It was less about how do I look, performance, choreography. Like, yes, we learned all the technical and stuff like that, but it was really motivated by what do we need to move through our bodies with this movement? What are we connecting to? And like, it was okay to cry through a routine or to just to have the routine exist entirely on the floor if that's what it needed to, that level of like connection. It broke through so many layers of resistance and fear and discomfort. And I was able to really cultivate a sense of ownership over my physical self, but also how my energetic self related with that. How I just move, how I walk down the street, how I put my clothes on in the morning, how I drink a glass of water, like all of that. I can find sensuality in all of that. And it's so fulfilling. And then, a huge part of that too for me is I'm very curious. I'm just an innately curious person. So I always like to express this or share this one memory from my childhood. If you understand this memory, you understand me fundamentally as a person. So there was this specific moment when I came to understand that there would not be enough time in my lifetime for me to go everywhere, meet everyone, and see everything. And it just literally, you had this one, it broke my heart. Like, I was just like, but then why? Like, what is this? What is and that curiosity carries through everything. So, it's a zest for novelty, but not from like, I don't mean that in a surface way. Like, it's a deep drive. How do you live? How do you experience things? I love talking to people. And that curiosity translates sexually as well. What are all the different ways my body can experience pleasure? What are the different ways it does that with different kinds of people? How do I know what I like and what I don't like if I don't at least try? And I find that out. I'm at a point in my journey where, I don't recommend starting this way, but like I find my boundaries by smashing into them head on. And I go, oh, I do not like that, or my body did not like that. We're not going to do that again, or we're not going to do it that way. Or like, totally. That's really fun for me and uncomfortable. Totally. But like, I love that, again, that curiosity coming from like, oh, do I want to try that? I have before. Sure. Let's go for it.
For sure. I resonate with the running into the boundaries, like trying to go to my first play party and like crying before I left with my partner. I was like, I want to go, but oh my God, I'm so scared, and that's when you find out, I do psychedelic assisted psychotherapy. So I always parallel a lot of those together. And it's like, you got to move at the speed of trust and take a slow and small first dose. You don't need to like hop in. Nope. Although I've thrown myself into the water many a time and said sink or swim, and definitely gotten some muscles from that experience. But yeah, I too, I remember being in my undergrad degree and studying English, and I broke down crying that I wasn't going to be able to read all the books in the world.
I've had that. I was like, but how do I pick which? Oh God.
Exactly. So that desire, that curiosity, the exploration, and I really appreciated what you said about exploring sexuality with different people, because, I think one thing we need to rewrite, especially with attachment, is how attachment can be different, right? Depending on who you're with.
Ooh, like, we can deep dive into that.
Because it's so annoying. The field of psychology is like, well, you're either anxious, or you're avoidant, or you're distorted. It's like, oh my God.
Isn't that nice? We just fit into these little boxes.
I know.
That's all that's there.
Totally. And it's like forgetting that the attachment is actually between two people. And so maybe if you're with someone who's really avoidant, it pulls out your anxious side. Maybe if you're with someone who's really anxious, it pulls out your avoidant side, right? And vice versa. And all the fun culmination of ways that having multiple relationships for myself and my clients, we can see that come out so quickly. And I'm like, okay, time to rewrite that attachment theory. But also with sexuality, right? We think we have these like very defined ways of who we are. But then, and some of that is true, of course, but then when you interact with the different people, you start to realize like, wow, this person brings out this side of me. This person makes me want to play in this way. This person does that. And I think that's a really expanded state to start to integrate all these different parts of yourself with multiple people without shame.
Mm-hmm. With a lot of celebration.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think curiosity is the antidote to things like shame or fear. Again, not that there's anything wrong with like, oh, I'm experiencing fear, but there's like a, helps the medicine go down, I guess. If you can hold that same thing with curiosity, it just changes the experience.
Right. Absolutely. And so there's so many messages around women and sex that are inherently shameful and shitty in this patriarchal society. So I'd be curious if you were to take me back to your journey of first kind of unpacking that and some of those shame-filled messages. What were some of the things that were difficult at the beginning?
Well, here's a fun fact. I had a promise ring growing up of my own accord. Stop.
I still wear it as a reclamation now.
Oh my God. Mine is somewhere in Los Angeles. I live in London now. Somewhere in my home. I don't know where that came from. Just society. I have no idea. I wasn't specifically raised that way. I wasn't raised with comfort around sex or sexuality. Like it was very much when signs of puberty started. It was like here's the what's happening to my body book and VHS tape that my mom sat me down and watched with me and then just gave me the book and walked away kind of like thing.
Figure it out.
And and it was it was a lot of discomfort and there was just nothing at home about that. And so I don't know if it was like, okay, this thing is scary and I can lock it away in this box if I create this structure on it. I honestly have no recollection of where it came from, but I was just like, I am waiting for marriage.
Yeah.
I have this ring. Look how cute I am.
Yeah.
And then I'm in college and I'm examining like, what is marriage? Do I even want to get married? Like, is it? And, I was nowhere near the like shame and what is this? And around that, I was just like, do I even want the thing? And if that's the thing, I'm very logical. I'm very pragmatic. So I was like, well, I don't want that. And that's connected to that. Maybe I don't need. And so my college boyfriend and I were together for, I think all in 3 years. We had been together for 1.5 years, I believe at this point. We had both not had sex before. And so I was like, this makes a lot of sense. We love each other. Like, this is new for both of us. Like, do you want to do this?
Right.
And I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful that was my experience. I remember it vividly, as briefly as it was. And then unfortunately my next experience was non-consensual, not with this person, but I'm very grateful that was like, it was very much a choice. It was a very thought out choice, would not have changed a thing. Very grateful for that. I wasn't conscious of shame around it. I really owned that choice. Like this is so not PC. This is not gonna hold up well over time. I had a group of girlfriends in college. We decided that our names like the Spice Girls, but we were like the Sluts. So we each had our slut name. There was, and I was wannabe slut because I was the only virgin in the group. And I fucking loved it. I was like, yes, I am. That is me. So there was an interesting pride around that. And then the journey finding that. And I think for me, again, the physicality was really important because I'm very cerebral. I can get really trapped in like ideas and story and all of that. And it wasn't until I started connecting my body lived, energetic experience that all the stuff started coming up, and the tears and the awareness of the stories that were playing in the background that I didn't even know. Because I learned, like I remembered kind of my changing relationship with my body. Even like I was one of the guys growing up, all my friends were boys, and then my boobs came in real early, like out of nowhere, like overnight. And all my friends started treating me differently and looking at me differently. And I remember throwing the big baggy sweaters on. I just wanted everything to go back to the way it was. And then I switched all the way to the over to the other side, and I realized, if I wear tight things, I can get what I want easier. Like this is fun.
Totally.
And then the sort of messaging you get around that, and I just sort of put it in my body and I hit it there. And so not to sound redundant, but again, that movement really opened it up and kind of just connected all these different pieces for me.
Absolutely. I always talk about women's voices back in the 60s, right? They're like, hi, my name is Nicole and I'm so what kind of orgasms were they having back then when you're holding so much in your chest?
Honey, they weren't.
Yeah, exactly. Realistically, I know, right? That's wild. That's why I feel like every time I laugh, like full body, every time I take an exhale, I'm like, that's political. Like people need to hear that. Like, like, wow.
This is topical.
Go for it.
Baby Girl. Nicole Kid, the vocalization in that film I loved that choice. Her like quote orgasm in the opening versus, I'm gonna try to avoid spoilers, but like
Sure.
probably people have seen it at this point, but like then the gutter, like when she really pleasures herself and you hear the difference. That's the first time I've ever seen that reflected on screen.
Sure.
And the other pivotal like female pleasure moment that was like, it hit me so much I had to stand up and like walk away from like the screen. It was the show, I think it was the first season of the show The Morning Show.
I haven't seen
it. It was Reese Witherspoon's character. She pulls, she was on a date or something, whatever. They end up in the alley behind the bar that they were at, and they're fucking, and she comes and it's done. She comes.
Yeah.
And it was over.
Yeah.
And I was just like, wait. I was like, wait, pause. Wait.
Yeah.
What just, I didn't even know I had never seen that.
Gosh.
You know, and I was like, at this point, at that point in my life, I had a lot of, I had just never seen it.
Totally.
And I didn't even know I had never seen it. Oh, right. Sex can finish when she's done. It can be done.
Yep.
Oh,
absolutely.
Just mind blowing.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yes, that's reminding me of my last orgasm that I had. I was like, my male lover was like massaging my face and then massaging my body. And I was like, you can massage my clit, and then massaging my clit, and then penetrating me with his fingers, and then having me go to full orgasm. And then that was it.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, past versions of myself would have been like, I haven't given back to him. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Which, like, it can be a conversation. Perhaps there is something he's interested in.
Yes.
Or perhaps that's what he was interested in.
Right. Exactly.
And yay, everybody wins.
And I love the flexibility. Sometimes it is reciprocal. Some days I just help him, right? Some days he helps, like that freedom in ways that I would have never, like, again, there's so many boxes that we live in. And I think until you kind of get out of them and then you look back and you say, wow, I was so restricted there. Hence why we're so passionate about helping people. Because when you get out of it, you're like, oh my God, I had so much tightness in these ways and so many unconscious things that I didn't even realize. My story is similar to yours. And like, I grew up very conservative, purity culture, very religious, religious school, Monday through Friday, church on Sunday, youth group Saturday. Wow. Yeah. So the purity ring was, all a part of that. When I had sex, it was a choice, but afterwards I sobbed uncontrollably because I felt so broken that no one would ever love me because I'm damaged goods.
Yeah.
And then after that, my next experience sexually was non-consensual, right? And so then that sends you down a deep healing journey of what the fuck is sex and how do I figure this out? And so it's fascinating to see these journeys of repression and trauma, and then what sort of passion that really ignites within you to heal, and then therefore to help other people, because we know how many people are still simmering in all of that pain and hurt and lack of language to really name their desires.
Yeah. 100%. And when you live in a culture that's, let's call it what it is. We live in a rape culture. Yep. It's acceptable. Like, it's just a part of things. We grow up preparing ourselves. Like, it's understandable why, heteronormative sex is seen as he's getting something.
Yep.
And like, what a shame, because so are we. If we're empowered in that, it to use your word, the idea of reciprocity, even I invite an even deeper opening of that. Why am I the only one getting something when I orgasm? Why is he the only one getting something when he orgasms? Or is this not something we're both contributing into a shared experience? I get a lot out of my partner's orgasming. Yep. I love that. It brings me pleasure. When I have sex, I get to have sex. Like, no one's getting anything from me. Like, this is, I am winning in this. Like, I want to open up that conversation so much more. Why should I give you this? Honey, you're getting it too, hopefully.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. These questions about what is reciprocity at its heart, right? Yeah, exactly. What is the prize? Is the prize mutual pleasure and enjoyment, or this taking? And like you're saying, so much of our patriarchal understanding of sex is, like we'll hear this in media and other things of like male patriarchal perspectives of like, I fucked her, I got her, and it's very objectifying, right? And I always bring up the fact that is always dark. I mean, you're in London now, but in the United States, marital rape was not illegal in all 50 states until 1993, because before that, listeners,
you were property.
You were property, and you could be raped by your husband, right? And it's like,
it's not rape if you're just
right.
property.
Exactly.
You don't have a say. Yeah. Let's let that drop in.
Yeah, it's like, how much silence do I have to hold for that to sit for people? Because that's really recent. That hasn't even been 50 years. Yeah, exactly. And so if we don't think that that is a part of the water that we are all swimming in, a part of all the quote unquote research that we have right now, oof, wake up.
Yeah. I mean, do we need to talk about the fact that I don't have the percentage off the top of my head. Luckily, it's starting to shift, but there's so much like ground to gain on like just the medical field. Medical science is based on male anatomy.
Yeah.
All the treatments, everything we receive as non-male bodies are for male bodies. These are different bodies. We have different bodies. We are operating in different systems, and we are being forced into something that doesn't serve us because there's no other option. It's barbaric. We are capable of so much more. Yeah. And we're starting to.
Absolutely.
As much tumultuousness as there is, and I don't want to discount that, there is a lot of unrest in the world. It's really important to like really zoom out big picture. We're in one of the most peaceful times in human history. We have the capacity to really advance ourselves in a lot of areas. And this is one where I really hope we do. If we can create more focus on pleasure as a driving force, like moving towards something that feels good rather than away from something that feels bad. Right? Like what's a sex positive culture? How do we move towards those things? Yeah. It's such a different way of motivating action, conversation, connection, relationship, building businesses. Everything shifts when it's towards pleasure, towards positive experience. Yes, and net positive, rather than trying to avoid, treat symptoms. Running towards versus running away from. Completely different paradigm.
Yes, absolutely. I have a lot to say to the field of psychology on that one. Oh, man. Yeah, and it's so interesting to think about. Of course, our desires are shaped within our cultural context. And so when we live in the society that is so repressive around sex, particularly in our white Western colonizer society, because again, there are other spiritual worlds and cultures that were not so repressed around sexuality. The Puritans, wow, they really did a number on America. And so when we sit with that, when I look back at my own journey, there's so much of it that I could have never fathomed having this amount of like liberation and freedom. Like there's a bit of a failure of imagination. Now, what did happen I would be in these long-term relationships, deeply in love with the man, because I hadn't unpacked any of my queerness, deeply in love with this man, so in love, so clear as day as that. And then also realizing that my body was no longer wet. Now
it's responsive.
Yeah. And I'm here for the discussion of responsive desire versus spontaneous and building it. And also, man, my body was not responding. And I was just beating myself up inside of like, how can I love this man so much and my body's not responding? And that's really what even further perpetuated my research into this. And gosh, if I could just look to my younger self and be like, hey, girl, I need you to know that the research shows that women's desire drops off faster in long-term monogamous relationships than men. Nothing is wrong with you. This is actually a research-backed phenomena.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that's the whole sentence.
Exactly. I'm sure I would have been like, so what does that mean then? Where do we go? And I think that's still where we're at as a society right now is we know this. We know all of these pressures. We know all of that. So like, what does the future look like of women's liberation now that we have more access and more privilege, right? I remember reading Untrue by Wednesday Martin, and she had written in there. Yeah, I know, right? Like she had written in there, that women started cheating, or like we could at least document this, that women were cheating as much as men once we had financial independence more towards the 1970s, right? Like we have no idea what women's sexuality is capable of. No idea.
Autonomy is intrinsically connected, regardless of gender. Autonomy is directly connected to the ability to even explore and be curious. If you have no freedom, you have no freedom, period. Like, you have to have the ability to move freely within society to really explore yourself. There's too much at risk. There's too much. You can't. It makes perfect sense that there were those limitations, those self-contained. But God, I cannot. I think about the past and just like, no, I mean, maybe I would have never explored this, and you find your ways to suppress it. Just like, I would have lost my mind.
Yeah.
I have a lot of desire in me,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I'm sure I'm not a phenomenon.
No.
It's documented that it's just it, man. And I agree with you. It's like, this is tip of the iceberg stuff
Yep.
we're on right now. It's very exciting. But that's
Mm-hmm.
the thing, is like, we all win. We're a social communal species. With more freedom, there's more freedom. Like, we all suffer under patriarchy. Women's empowerment, women's liberation, women's freedom, they're our ability to
Yeah.
explore ourselves in all the ways. Men win too. Everyone
Mm-hmm.
wins.
Mm-hmm.
It's just,
Mm-hmm.
more is more, I guess, is what I like to say too, in regards to relationship, pleasure, exploration, all of that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Because, like you, I believe that we are inherently communal and loving and kind when we're not in resource complex situations. I think we've seen
Mm-hmm.
a lot of that where there's a lack of resources and then we
Yeah.
compete, right? But we
Yeah.
do live in a world where we have access to much more than we think, right? And so this is a new time in all of human history where there is much more access to these things that we cannot have to compete as much. There's enough resources in the world, maybe not to uphold our like capitalistic white American like speed of production and like fast fashion and all that sort of world. That's a whole different concept. But when
Be another
like,
episode for that.
yeah, climate change, wow. But just generally speaking, I do believe that we are all like kind and inherently good. And so when we talk about like liberating sexuality, that vision for me is like, good sex is when you care about the person, when you're present with that person, when you're embodied, when it's mutual, right? And so when I see that world of normalizing sex and pleasure, it's also a world of normalizing embodiment and care for multiple people.
Mm-hmm. 100%. Like, I value my pleasure and my experience equally with whomever I'm sharing that with. Otherwise, why are we doing, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm curious about you. I'm curious to see what we create together. Is there going to be a new color or flavor of myself, or just experience in general, that I'm going to get to have from this? Are things going to be revealed for you? What a gift to be a part of that with someone
Yeah,
else.
totally.
Like, oh my goodness. Yeah.
Totally. Absolutely. And so I'm sure you've probably experienced then, like me, like when I first started having sex with multiple people, just feeling like a slut, and not in a good way.
Mm,
And not just like, pick up play or one-time experiences, but having sex with multiple people all at the same time, like trying to build multiple relationships. And
mm-hmm,
uh it was just a lot to psychologically go through, that like I'm not a bad person to want sex
mm-hmm,
with all these different people. I'm not a bad person to want sex more with this one partner than the other. Like
mm-hmm.
all of that is a lot to unpack. And again, like we have books like Jessica Fern, but like on polysecure, but she doesn't talk about sex enough. I'm just gonna put it out there. And when she was on the show, we talked about that, of like,
Good.
there needs to be more discussion about the whole psychological sex part and attachment, because that's a
Mm-hmm,
whole thing to unpack. And so I'm
mm-hmm.
curious for you, like, what was your journey like with that and unpacking some of these messages around like the Madonna and the horror
Yeah.
complex?
You say was, like, it's the
Yeah,
journey.
exactly. Yeah. You're right. But I want,
Which chapter am I in right now?
exactly. But okay,
Yeah.
I always I'm always in that. There's more to go. And sometimes I forget to acknowledge I have
Yeah.
climbed some mountains or gone down the spiral.
Yeah.
So like, yes, this chapter, but also the last.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of what you said absolutely resonates for me, of like, what does this mean about me? I think there were elements of like, I'm always going to be a recovering people pleaser to
Yeah.
some extent or another. And so there were elements of like, what do they think? How does this going to affect what they want with me? Da 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 da. All of those things. Do I have to subscribe to certain labels now because of this thing? 100%. I mean, I was literally subjected to myself to being in a social circle that literally called ourselves the sluts. And I was the wannabe slut. Like,
Yeah.
I'm a writer, so I love language, and like the idea of reclaiming language. How censored do I have to be?
Not at all.
Okay.
Rawr.
I'm in London, so this word carries slightly different weight here. I'm still navigating that, but I fucking love the word cunt. Love it. It is a
Sure.
powerful, femme forward word. I love it. I want to use it. I want to reclaim it. It is a good thing to me. I want to be a cunt.
Mm-hmm,
Like, yes.
mm-hmm.
And I, it's attributed, I think, to Betty White, that whole idea of like, what do you mean don't be a pussy? Like a pussy takes a pounding and keeps on going. It's the balls that you look at
Right.
them the wrong way. And,
Right. Sure.
It's just like reclaiming language. What do those words mean? What are the connotation of like, I'm a slut now. Like, yeah, I'm a slut now. I'm a
Yeah.
consensual slut. Like, I love
Yeah.
it. Just redefining that and not seeing language as barriers, but more as, tools in my toolbox. Or if someone is going to say, yeah, that makes you a slut. I'm like, cool. What does that mean to you?
Mm.
I know what it means to me. Like, I'm not worried about it. What does that mean to you if you're using
Yeah.
that language? It's an invitation for conversation. And
Mm-hmm.
people don't treat language like that. We can be
No.
very, combative or defensive. And I try to find the question as much as possible. Especially if there's like a label that comes with a lot of cultural baggage. I'm like,
Right.
great. What does that mean to you?
Yeah.
Tell me more.
Yeah.
Tell me about what it means for me to be a slut.
Yes. Absolutely. One of my favorite songs is called Cunt. It's like CVNT is how they spell it.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, yes, like it's very fiery, passionate.
It feels good. It just rolls off the tongue.
Yeah, exactly. Or like Pussy by Regina Tommenschauer.
Yeah.
The book. Yeah. But yeah, there's so many words to reclaim with that. And so I'm curious too, like I'm sure as you were going through this, there must have been like a shift in community that kind of normalized this. And yeah, exactly. Yeah, because we cannot walk this alone. You know what I mean? There's no way to walk this alone, because without that shift in community, you will hear that word slut and you will be like, this is bad. What would my mom and dad think? What would my pastor think? Whatever. Yes, whatever circle. What would they say at work? What would they say at this?
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, the biggest thing has been shifting my community to have all of my close friends in reality practice some form of expansive relating. And then that made me feel super normal, where I forget that like what I do is not normal, but like thank God for my nervous system. So I'm curious, like what did that look like for you?
I mean, like, for better or worse, I've always been somebody who's found myself in like what I call bridge spaces, whether it's like around my veganism or around, practicing consensual non-monogamy. I've always found myself talking to people who aren't in that camp and able to translate, if that makes sense. Like, I'm not triggered necessarily. I'm curious again. And so that's not to say there weren't a lot of growing pains and like feeling like an alien with a horn in the middle of my head, but like it wasn't like, okay, everyone who is, in a monogamous relationship, I can't be around people who are cool with monogamy. Like, no, I think for me, I look for qualities of people, because there's also plenty of, ironically, closed-minded people in seemingly very progressive spaces. And I'm not interested in that either. I'm a yes and person. I'm like, what can I learn from you? You're different than me. Cool. Like, tell me more.
Totally.
So I think there's absolutely, I sought out space. Like, one of the beginning, early in my journey, when I was like, okay, this is real for me. I want to explore, what does it mean that I want to play with other people, but I still want, core relationships. And I started going to play parties. I was like, okay, universe, I know there's spaces out there. I can't be the only one that feels this way. You show me the way. And so I started doing all the things that I'd never done, just getting on apps. I'm going to date myself, but like, this was still in a time where like that wasn't cool. It wasn't I'm on an app. Like, it's like, I'm just going to just swipe under the table, but I was meeting people and I was open to connections, and I was just like, yes, like, you're a different person. There was no type. I don't know that I have a type. I was just like, you're a new experience. Like, you're different. How do we do that? And it just kind of came about organically with one of these connections. We're like, closing out our time together, and he's just like, there's this group I think you might be interested in connecting with. Like, I'll put you in touch. And it just kind of grew from there. And when I'm interested in something, like I said, I nerd out. So like, I dove in and met as many people as I could. Events, started hosting things. I've now been hosting events, like play parties, things like that, for almost a decade. Like, I love creating these spaces. I love being in these spaces. For me, I also need time not in these spaces. It's very balancing. Very, very, yes. Well, not a balance. But it is very important to have enough meaningful connections that are reflective, whether it's reflective in a manner of like, oh, you see these things the same as me, or reflective in you see them differently, but you accept and celebrate that in me. Cool.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I look for in my community.
Absolutely. Yeah, my mom is still Mormon, so I can always get a dose of like the other side anytime. I'm
Yeah.
like, hey, holy underwear and the whole thing. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
fascinating. Fascinating family
Culture's
trips.
amazing, isn't
Yeah, isn't it?
it?
Yeah, her daughter
Well,
went somewhere else.
I want to talk about that though too, because
Sure.
you've brought that up a few times, which is important too.
Yeah.
I call myself wanderlustful. Like I love
Mm,
to travel and explore. Like we talked about, we both had that shared experience in our childhood of like, what do
sure.
you mean I can't go over? I
Yeah.
think that's been a huge part in this for me too, is being
Mm,
able to be exposed to so many different ways of living, loving, relating all
yeah.
over the world currently. Like I was on Easter Island, Rapa Nui, and that's a communal culture versus an individualist society.
Yep.
Like Western society is, you build everything yourself and you're unique.
Yep.
It's about all things.
Yep.
Communal is we share things, what's the best for the group. Raising children is communal.
Yep.
Whether you're mother, father, whatever dynamic, the village raises everyone. And there's pros and cons to both, but that's the norm there. And deviating from that is the strange thing that they're having trouble accepting and understanding. So
Yeah.
really experiencing that in real time, it's such a gift. And it's
Mm-hmm.
like constant, it's like exposure therapy in a lot
Yeah,
of ways.
yeah, absolutely. That's where I get really upset as a therapist because there's so much I don't even feel like update is the word. I
Mm,
feel like there's so much to dismantle, not just update, but
mm,
fully dismantle because
mm.
when I'm going through my training and it's taught through this very like monogamous
Yeah.
nuclear family model and anything outside of that is wrong. Wow, need
Mm,
to dismantle mononormativity. And then
yeah.
also, like, we exist in a world where, like, yeah, America is very individualistic, very capitalistic, no support for family rearing, and it's supposed to be done in a nuclear family. And then if the mother is supporting, you know what we put on top of her? A diagnosis,
Mm,
postpartum depression. Are you,
mm,
like, sure? Sure, don't get me wrong. I see that lived pain thing, all of that very real, and I want to honor that. And also, what the fuck is this system?
mhm.
That's a
That's
very,
something.
yeah, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, I don't want to cut you off. I think you're talking about something very important. And I appreciate you for saying, like, no, there's also very real pain here.
Absolutely.
As someone who I was diagnosed with depression, 10, highly over medicated as a child for depression. Like
Sure.
there is that. I mean, we know so little now. We knew even less then.
Yes,
It,
yeah,
I
yep,
can't be upset. It was what it is, and who knows the damage it's done. But
totally.
I'm doing pretty great. So,
Yeah, love to see that.
but
Congrats.
yeah, all that to say, I've looked back at that now and I take into consideration the context of the environment that I was growing up
Yes.
in. And I've
Yes.
had this conversation with my therapist who really helped me look at this in a new way. And I stand in this viewpoint very firmly now. I was having a very reasonable emotional reaction considering the environment that I was in. So was I chemically depressed? Or was I actually responding in a very healthy way to a very unhealthy environment? That blew my top off, like my lid completely open, and changed how I looked at all of that. Because I still had the story of, I deal with depression and I go through these things. And yes, I
Yeah.
do still have moments of that, but I always look now at what's going on. What else is going on? Am I like broken inside, or am I actually responding to way too much happening, or like a seismic shift, and I haven't titrated that enough, and done enough coping that I can handle it? Like I have to look at the full picture now rather than jump to that label that allows me to kind of avoid any responsibility in it. Take the whole context. No, actually, I love that little girl for responding that way. She was tuned the fuck in to her needs, and they were not being met in very harsh ways.
Hmm.
And that was
Yeah.
very reasonable that she felt
Right.
that way. And it's a shame that she got that messaging. But guess what? She gets to ride along now and learn new understandings around that. And I get to give her all of that now that she didn't
Right.
get then.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm so glad that you can see that and this
Man,
conversation can
huge.
invite people to reflect on that because I'm always talking about, we got to take accountability for our change and also point the arrow upwards at the systems. And so when we exist in a very individualistic society, it's going to look at you and say, you are the problem, right? Not the
Mhm.
system and the fact that we're always trying to keep ourselves safe. And so it makes sense that you'd be responding this way. It's like that famous quote, it's no sign of health to be well adjusted manifested to a sick society. And so when someone has postpartum depression, I'm not discrediting any of the pain of that. In fact, I'm actually really looking at it and say, based on our society, yeah, you don't have parental leave or mother leave in this society that's protected in America. Of course, depression, right? And also that's not a reflection of you individual, but rather the society that we live in.
Exactly.
And so I wonder, when my pussy is not responding to this like monogamous relation, like how much of that is also my body indicating to me that something is wrong with these systems. My body is literally not getting excited about this sexual experience anymore. Like, why was I trying to force myself into this for so long?
This is where I think choice is really important when we're not educated about all the different, for example, all the different relationship dynamics that are available, because there may be plenty of women in your position who are like, no, I want to be more responsive to this partner. I'm choosing this dynamic. So I would like to learn how to shift this potentially within this context. When it's a choice, fuck yeah. When it's I have to because this is the only option and there must be something wrong with me because it's not in the that's what I have issue with, which is it sounds like what we're talking about. That context is so key. What you're talking about in society with, you're the problem, you're depressed, you have an issue. Yeah, you're in a monogamous relationship, it's not working for you, you're the problem. You got to figure that out. Maybe there's some stuff going on. Maybe there's also a whole world of relationship design that you haven't explored or been educated about. So you don't even know your own needs as far as your hierarchy of exclusivity emotionally or sexually. So you don't know how to design a relationship structure that actually supports you with integrity. Instead, you keep trying to fit yourself into these boxes and you're being told you're the problem. If you're choosing that box because you've been educated about everything that's out there and that's the structure that makes sense to you, that you want, knowing everything that's out there, then yeah, you work within that context. Outside of that, it's not a fucking choice. You're not consenting to that.
Right. Exactly. That's how I feel when people say like, oh, I don't want to do psychedelics. They melt your brain. Like they will destroy your life. I'm like, okay, like some of the research, it's not, I don't feel like that's an informed no when you say stuff like that. Cause I'm like, that's
fear motivated.
Exactly. And so that's a lot of what we sit in around relationships is fear motivated because anything else is wrong or et cetera, et cetera. And so I hear what you're saying about until we have that informed consent is really what we're talking about, is informed consent and therefore the embodiment to choose. And the reality is too, like even just like habituation in long-term relationships happens in poly too. You know?
100%. That's our human body is built for homeostasis. Like it seeks homeostasis, but that doesn't support desire and novelty in the same way that novelty and distance and all those other components do. And it's perfectly healthy. I hate the word. We can talk about that word another day. But it's perfectly contextually acceptable to want both of those things and to again have the tools at your disposal to understand, I can design a relationship that supports those things. That's so empowering. Oh my God, to know that you are showing up and choosing this relationship. I know that I only want to be with partners that are actively choosing to be with me, not out of obligation. If that starts like I love you, please go. That's like, I'll deal with my process. You did but actively choosing me every day, the acknowledgement that we have the choice to leave, to change our dynamic, to do whatever at any point, rather than live in an illusion of this label or this piece of jewelry or this piece of paper somehow guarantees our deciding to no longer have choice. It's bananas to me. I feel like I went on a tangent. Bring me back.
No, I mean, this is all related. This is where you hear the the comedy skits about the ball and chain. My husband is just right. It's like, leave.
Yeah. Do you want, is that what you want? So this is what I always say is if you're in it, you are getting something out of it.
Right.
So let's explore what that is, because you, educated or not, you're making a choice. So let's look at what is here for you, because you, even at a base animal level, if you're not getting something out of, there's not some sort of need being met, you're out. So what's the need that's being met? You're satisfying the story that you're a victim. It feels very gratifying to understand that you're, and you have this endless barrage of material that supports that. This is great. Yeah. Do we want to keep that alive? Is that something you're committed to? No? Great. Now you have something to work with. That is such a key thing in so many of the areas that we're talking about right now, is what are you getting out of this? Because you're getting something. Might not be, you
Mm-hmm.
might not like it when you when you figure out what that is, but
Yeah.
you're getting it.
Right, right. And that story might be normalized within your community, right? That's why
Yeah.
it's a
Yeah.
stand-up comedy
If I
skit
don't have
is
a husband to complain about,
exact.
what are we going to talk about? What are we going to like? Oh my God, after spin class, like we can't, what, you know, like to complain about the kids, or I have to complain about the husband. I have to talk about the newest diet. I have to like, what's the material if we don't have that? Do we have to like be intimate with each other and like talk about?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I know. And so if I were to sit in that circle, I can feel that lack of harmony, that lack of resonance.
Yeah.
Because I'm like,
Yeah.
why is your life so unhappy? Why are you constantly like, do you
Yeah.
have any pleasure going on? You know, like
Yeah.
switching that script to find circles of people that talk about pleasure in all the different variations, but like we're saying, are actively
Mhm.
choosing those lifestyles and enjoying them rather than like just complaining and harping. That's a very
Yeah.
different world and a very different circle.
And I think you keyed on something too that's really important is without even realizing it, when you're in that story cycle, you're supporting the idea that, yeah, women don't get pleasure. You don't get to have
Yeah.
pleasure.
Yeah.
So I like to follow up that question with like, do you get to have pleasure? Are you allowed to have pleasure? Oh, he doesn't satisfy. I was like, do you get to have that? Are you allowed to have that? Because right now you have the story that is really supporting the idea that you don't. So do you believe that you get to have pleasure?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because if you did, I have a strong suspicion this would not be the circumstance. Might still be with the same person, but this
Yep.
would not be the circumstance.
Absolutely. And I think that that's where it's so important to have models of what is possible. Why I appreciate you sharing your voice here, right? And having this platform where you can share this voice because, you know, in America right now, not in London, but in America, we've never had a female president. So, you know how many little
Fucking
girls are not
insane.
dreaming? I know. You know how many little girls aren't currently dreaming of one day being like, oh, I could be president because we don't have it. The second we
Yeah.
get that, little girls are going to be dreaming around the world being like, I could be the president one day. But until we have that model, it's really hard to imagine it. And so when we're thinking about desires and the narratives and what we're shaping for our lives, we have literally no other model publicly. I think when you get deep into some of the history, some of the spirituality of other cultures that has been really written over or destroyed at different points in the history, you know what I mean?
Yes. The
Then you can
historical
actually
edits.
yes, then you can see the models and we're like, oh, okay, there. But like that model is not on your main platform, like screening stuff right now and content and movies and stuff. Even like we were talking about Baby Girl earlier, right? Where is my model of the female CEO that's not just the sub, but the dom?
Mm-hmm.
Still waiting. I'm still waiting.
Well, and just not to like harp on that film too, like it's a movie, it's not a course. Do
Right.
not
Oh,
watch that
please do
movie
not.
and take notes. That's not what film is for.
Like-
Go to a professional like one of us who has the resources for you. Do not use film for that. However,
No.
I will say, first time I've ever seen Dom aftercare represented as well on
Sure.
screens, which was like, again, mic drop moment for me where I was like, oh my God, I didn't even know I hadn't seen this. Yes.
Yes. I think that's where I
Oh.
usually sit with things like this, where I'm like, even like 50 Shades of Grey, like horrible representations.
Oh,
And
no.
also, damn, that sold so many copies that it is expanding people's concepts on BDSM.
Yes.
And I think we can have that
Progress.
yes,
Yes.
critical lens that's like not just because even in the very like progressive spaces, some people are just like, we need more. And I'm like, oof, can we acknowledge just a little bit of progress? Even though, yes, we need
Yes.
more, like, hey, a little bit of good things are happening here. And when you look at it, if you take a
Progress
step
over
back,
perfection.
right,
Yeah.
like 100 years, 1,000 years, this is still really big. I
Yeah.
get it. More. But like, acknowledge where we've come from, folks.
Yeah. Like I'm wearing pants.
Yeah.
Do you know how
exactly.
big that is?
Well, we've talked about sex and we didn't go to jail during this episode. Should I be,
Exactly.
you know, like 100
Yeah.
years ago, Margaret Sanger got arrested for talking about contraception. So like, hey, I use contraception. I fuck. You know what I mean? Like here we are.
Sure
And
do.
like, yeah, exactly. You know, not fearful that I'm going to.
And I enjoy it.
Yes,
Yes.
and I orgasm hard.
Yes. Many times. Yes.
Exactly. And so there's a lot of joy in the ability to name those things. And I think sometimes we get lost in the continual push, and that's where activists get burnt out. And we have to be really conscious of that. And so like there's a balance to that of seeing it all and finding the pleasure to be able to like really change these movements. We can't just keep pushing so hard that we just burn ourselves to the ground of seeing
Thank you for, I think this is such an important conversation. It's also kind of goes back and ties into the communal nature of our species. Like there's different kinds of activism, and it's really important. I used to judge myself talking about shame.
Sure.
Oh, I'm not enough of an activist, whether it's veganism, sex positivity, non-monogamy. I'm not on the front lines. I need to be put. I'm not built like that. My nervous system, I'm not useful in that environment. I am much more useful having those bridge conversations, talking to the people who don't understand from a curiosity standpoint. Tell me more about why you feel this is wrong. I want to learn from you where you're coming from. I don't get triggered by that. I get very triggered with frontline, like it's too much for me. And I used to say like, oh, I'm not doing enough. And then when I started understanding we're all doing our parts, I'm no use to anyone if my nervous system is fried and fractured on a constant basis. Where can I contribute most sustainably? And understanding what my activism looks like, what my sensuality and sexuality looks like, really understanding again how I connect, what it feels like in my body to do those things in a way that's sustainable and generative for myself was huge. It removed the shame.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. We all have our corners of the thread that we're working on, right? And making change towards. And I think that's where we can trust that the personal is the political. And so when there are so many systems that are impacting us and preventing us from being able to show up in the ways that we want to, we can also trust in the ripples of the work that we're doing when we slow down to have a conversation with someone in our community who has beliefs that might, be hurtful. Like if you have the capacity to have that bridge conversation, not to say that you have to throw yourself at the into the hands of those people in there, because Lord knows I've had a lot of comments about my life and my sluthood, right? But if I have the capacity to slow down and do some work there, like that's political to be like, yeah, like you said earlier, what does the word slut mean to you? Can we get curious about this together? And that's 100% political, and each one of us can do that in our day-to-day lives. You don't have to be a therapist or a frontline worker to do that sort of change, and we need all of us alive and vibrating with that to really make this large change.
100%. All the different flavors in the ice cream shop need to be there.
Yeah. I'm curious if you were to kind of take a deep breath and connect back to the previous versions of yourself. Is there any advice or wisdom that you would share with her given where you're at now?
In general, or in regards to any specific theme we talked about today?
In terms of following your pleasure.
It's going to be uncomfortable at first, and then it's going to be really good, and then it's going to be uncomfortable again.
Yeah.
And then it's going to get really good.
Yeah.
And learning to trust, for me, this is a constant, actually, I would say in a lot of areas that we discussed today, is trusting the wave pattern. That it's not this like, I know we're not going to have a visual here, but I'll try and describe what I'm showing. So this was a defining moment for me as well in life. I wish I could remember who gave me this. Really wish I could. But someone in my life at one point said, I'm holding my arm out parallel to the ground in front of me, perpendicular to my body. And they said, this is what most people think balance is. This flat, level surface. This is balance. Sure. And they said, balance is actually this. And now I'm rocking my arm back and forth, kind of like a seesaw, surfing the wave. Balance is about staying. It's like, it is. It's like watching a surfer on a surfboard navigate the wave. That's balance. Balance is active, not a fixed point. So understanding that, things aren't linear. It's not up. They can be, it can be, net positive moving in that direction, but there's going to be those peaks and valleys always, ongoingly. It's not a mark of failure or anything. Yeah. That discomfort is always pointing towards growth. It's worth moving through. It's worth maintaining balance during those times, and trusting the wave pattern, I call it, of life.
Yeah, that's so important, because we live in a world where it's like up, more,
Yeah.
Right, exactly. And that's not really how nature exists. It goes through seasons, right? If we really think about it, like winter to fall, like, right? So all these different seasons that we go through, and so trusting more of that. I definitely can resonate with that of feeling times like I've lost my pleasure, of like, where did it go? Why did I fall off
Like,
from it? And then kind of starting a deeper spiral that made it even worse,
yeah.
right? Versus
Oh,
like,
yeah.
it will come back. And always understanding, I view pleasure as like a form of meditation and therefore a practice. Like when it's fallen off, like there was always the pleasure of my breath. Like if I really like, wow, okay, like that's always available to me. So like I don't know where my brain is going right now, but I can come back and feel that again. And when we meditate, we talk about it as a practice. Like there'll be days where your mind is fully spinning, right? But you can get back and start again. It doesn't have to be this like, oh, I failed and now it's over and I'm never gonna find it again, and oh God. And especially around sexuality, for me, it's just shifted and evolved so much over the course of my journey, coming from originally like being very, very attracted to men who were like on the path to become pastors, because I was like, damn, look at this guy centering Jesus in his life. I'm so excited to submit to him as his future wife. Like that got me off because that's what I was taught. Whoa. And like, let me tell you, that is not what I get off to now, unless we're doing a consensual play scene in that, which can be really fun with my trauma. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
But like, so it's just changed and evolve. And I think that's something I wish I could tell my younger self too, is that like your pleasure will evolve and there'll be days that you feel like it's so far away, but that's okay. Take that deep breath.
Yeah.
It'll become clear again, you know?
Yeah, it's like noticing it versus attaching judgment or assessing it in any way. It's just like, oh, I notice I'm not experiencing as much pleasure. I'm not drawn to pleasure as much. That's happening. Huh. No assessment. It's just there.
Yeah. Yeah, that's hard for me you talked about being a nerd. As a nerd, that's really hard for me because my brain's like, what's going on?
Let's figure this out.
Yeah, exactly. Like there must be something. It's like, taking a deep breath. And then also thinking about connecting to your pleasure as a muscle, right? We talk about neuronal pathways, and the more you practice that pathway, the more that neuronal pathway fires and becomes regulated. I think that connecting with your pleasure is very similar. It's a muscle. So if you've never expressed your pleasure, if you've never centered your pleasure, it's gonna feel scary. And when you do that, you're activating a part of yourself that maybe has not been tapped into, and we often have rebounds. Wow. So you can have a bit of that rubber band pull and then contraction. But the more that you keep flexing that muscle, the stronger and stronger it gets. I'm sure you can speak to that in your own life, of like your pleasure is forefront in all that you do now because you've centered it.
Well, and I know what it feels like when I'm not.
Yeah.
Sometimes it takes me a minute. I'm not gonna lie. I'm like, why am I so miserable? Oh,
yes.
Like, right. None of this is bringing me pleasure. Right.
Yes.
So do I need to be doing different things, or do I need to be doing what I'm doing differently?
Yeah.
Something needs to change.
Yes. What are your signs for a listener who might not be as in tune with being off in their pleasure? Like, what do you see and notice?
I think I get a lot of, symptoms of anxiety, I would say, is a big one. Racing thoughts, having a harder time focusing, concentration, being impatient, being impatient, more irritable, things like that. Everything just is shorter and more compressed. I don't feel like I can languish in anything, whether it's, languishing in, I don't know the answer to this. Or languishing in, wow, I just achieved something I've been working really hard on. Languishing in anything is that emergence, or that urgency to get to the next thing, whether it's quote good or bad, whatever I'm going through. There's no integration of whatever the experience is. That is my biggest key of like, ooh, I am not motivated by pleasure at all right now. Where can I find it? And I start little, because I don't go like, okay, I need to clear everything. I'm doing nothing but touching myself for the next 24 hours. I mean, sometimes no. But I like little. I'm like, I'm gonna take my lunch in the garden, or like I'm gonna chew very slightly, whatever. I'm gonna change something here. I need a pattern interrupt is a big tool that I use in this area. I'm gonna do something differently, motivated entirely around and only for pleasure. Right now it's 5 minutes, 5 breaths depending on the day, something. I'm creating this container for this, just so I can remember this relationship, and then you just a little bit more habit stacking pleasure. That's what it becomes.
The mindfulness of pleasure, to connect back to it and start that meditation again, honestly.
Absolutely. Because everything's practice. Relating is practice. It's what you said earlier about that habitualization of long-term relationships. It's easy to do that, but if you remember relating, it's a relation trip, I like to say.
Oh,
It's an
cute. Yeah.
ongoing practice. Like you're
Yeah.
on a journey. Do you want to turn off a different exit than before? Like you can. It's an ongoing practice. You are practicing relationship with someone. And if you can come at it from that viewpoint, a big one that I hear, I love this from especially, couples, that we finish each other's sentences. And I just go, isn't that called interrupting? Like you don't actually know what they're going to say. They might have a higher probability based on past experience, but you have no idea what happened to them that day that may have totally changed let them surprise you, enable them to surprise you. Beginner's mindset with all the things. It's lovely to have a long-term relationship with someone you feel like in and out, and you trust. That is wonderful and juicy, and let them surprise you. And I don't mean like unpredictable in an unsafe way, but what can you invite with that beginner's mind, that curiosity?
And it's so hot. Like I love simmering in that of like this other person is a whole person with a whole universe of thoughts in their big beautiful brain, and even if I spent every single moment together, which is not possible, but if I did, I still wouldn't even know all of the intricacies of their complex, beautiful universe of thoughts because of just how we live as humans, as two separate embodied humans. Like and so when you really sit with that of like this person before you, that is erotic to me. I'm like, wow, damn, okay.
Like you want to get real nerdy? I like to remind myself very pragmatic. Like, so we've agreed that this color is green. No, we've agreed that this range of light refraction is something we call green. They are seeing something different than me.
Right.
Their version of green, and it's within a range that we've all agreed generally is green. I have had a turquoise Prius C for about a decade or so now. And there are camps of people in my life that call my car green. And there are camps of people in my life that call my car blue.
Right.
This is like really incredibly interesting to me.
Sure.
So remembering when I'm feeling stagnant in a relationship or something, getting really nerdy about stuff like this of like, oh, like he said he put his blue shirt on and like this is blue, but he is seeing something very different than I'm seeing right now. That's fucking wild.
Absolutely. The integration, really slowing down to be present with it. Yeah. Well, it's been so fun to have you on the podcast. I'm sure we could keep going back and forth for hours.
It's a 4-hour episode.
Yeah, exactly. Right?
Yeah.
Listeners will tune in. I'm confident. So before we close, I will take a deep breath with you. Nice. And then I will see, are there any other things you want to share with the listener? Otherwise, I can guide us towards a closing question. And I'll also give space for you to plug all of your stuff at the end too.
Thank you. I think, if you can really curiosity has been such a gift in my life. If you're noticing that tightness, that moving away from, that just like reaction, within safe circumstance, get curious about it, because I think there's a lot of, we've merged unsafe and uncomfortable in Western society, especially.
Yeah.
And really getting clear on where that line is for you is super important. Curiosity can help you do that. And within that space, there is so much growth and expansion in every area, and it benefits every area of your life. This work has been emotionally fruitful as much as it's been financially fruitful, as much as it's been familially, like everything shifts.
Yeah.
I encourage curiosity on all fronts.
Absolutely.
And backs.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And the pleasure is not hedonistic in this like negative way. I honestly feel like pleasure is also pain, the suffering, to really feel. For me, like pleasure is feeling all of it, the light and the dark, because without that contrast, you don't have
You don't
the
get
contrast.
to pick which feelings. You pick how
Yes.
deeply you feel, and
Yep.
then you're going to feel deeply all of them.
Yes, we cry hard and we come hard in this space.
Yes.
Exactly.
Hell yeah. And sometimes at the
At the
same
same
time.
time. Yep. And those are radical healing spaces.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Well, if it feels good to you, I'll guide us towards the closing question.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Cool. Okay. So the last question that I ask every guest on the show is, what is one thing that you wish other people knew was more normal?
Oh, normal. What a word.
Anarchist
can
check.
I say can I say common or share?
You can say whatever you want. The fact that you questioned it, I always joke, is the anarchist check when someone goes normal.
Yeah,
Well,
normal.
What is that? Yeah, exactly. So you passed the secret test.
Yes.
Yeah.
Get my badge in the mail.
Exactly.
Fantastic. It was more shared. I would say something that I find to be very common both in my personal journey and in my work with clients, that it's okay and very common not to know. And that is a great space to exist in for as long as you need to.
But Ally, I want to know.
I'm telling myself this. I like type A,
Yes.
One of the class. Like, you're telling me, of course, this has been like a lifelong lesson. The patience with the I don't know. I mean, it's to not know, especially as someone who, myself personally, as someone who educates, coaches, things like I that pressure to have the answer. And sometimes the answer is, you know what? Actually, I don't know right now. I'm going to sit with that, or I'm going to investigate that, or, whatever that is. But like, a lot of people don't know in a lot of different areas at different times.
Yep.
And that goes kink, sexuality, relationally, professionally. There's a lot of I don't know in this world, a lot more than we let on.
Yep.
It's okay, because the world is still functioning to some extent. And there's a lot of I don't know. So this feeling that I don't know is wrong, bad, detrimental, let's let go of that. There's a lot of I don't know, and it's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And so finding the peace in that, because, oh man, that's sitting with me, because the second I don't know, I'm like, run. It's like, whoa. Yeah. It is hard, very hard.
Yeah.
And even when
me too.
Yeah. And when I'm training other therapists, I've had the joy of teaching psychiatry residents who had no training in therapy at all, which was so fun. What a challenge. And they'd be like, well, what do I do when I don't know what to say, when they've given me all this trauma and this grief and I just truly don't know? And I'm like, can you say that? Wow, you've shared so much that I'm at a loss for words and I don't know what to say next. And they shake at the thought. They're like, no, but I am the doctor. I must know. And I'm like, I think it's okay to be human. And I often feel like we most heal when we are human with people, which is often that I don't know how to sit with this. I don't know what this means. I don't know where I'm going. And that's okay.
Well, I think, it's the difference of I don't know and we're fucked.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know, and we're going to sit in that together. Being an example of I don't know is okay. Because if you deliver that with, you've said all this stuff and I don't fucking know.
Right.
That's unsettling.
Right.
You're like, But if it's wow, those are a lot of big feelings you shared with me, and I'm not quite sure how to respond like that. Are you comfortable sitting in the I don't know with me?
Yeah.
That's a totally different response. With the same context.
Absolutely. And so therapist, healer, coach or not, in our communities, dear listener, we need more of that space. When you're supporting people, when you're with people, it's okay to say you don't know how to show up and be in that space with them. I honestly feel like that is the most transformative thing, is to be with another person, to be present and not try to fix and have all the answers. I feel like we find most of that healing when we're holding hands with that person, saying, hey, I'm with you. I don't know what to do in this moment, but I'm with you. And that being so therapeutic.
Very.
Yeah.
Very.
Well, it was such a joy to have you on the podcast today. Thank you.
So much.
Yes, thank you. I'm sure all of the listeners are so curious how they can connect with you. Where can they find your stuff?
Well, I applaud that curiosity, as you know. So follow that curiosity to passport2pleasure.com. And that's the number 2, passport2pleasure.com. That's my inclusive relationship education platform. I provide tons of content across YouTube, Instagram, Substack. I want you to have the tools and the skills that you need to build the relationships that you want and deserve. So I create a lot of content around that. I have resources on my website, courses, things like that. It's really me. I'm a real person. You can reach out. I do coaching as well on a case-by-case basis. So yeah, I mean, Passport to Pleasure on all the platforms. And I look forward to hearing from you and seeing how that curiosity journey unfolds.
Yeah, beautiful. I'll make sure to have all of that linked in the show notes below, dear listeners, so you can find that. And again, thank you, Ally, for coming on to the show today.
My pleasure.
Yeah. If you enjoyed today's episode, then leave us a 5-star review wherever you listen to your podcast. And head on over to modernanarchypodcast.com to get resources and learn more about all the things we talked about on today's episode. I want to thank you for tuning in, and I will see you all next week.